Minnesota increases charges against cops involved in George Floyd's murder. A fired Minneapolis police officer will face a more serious murder charge, and 3 SAC officers will be charged as aiding and abetting in the death of an unarmed black man that triggered 8 days of nationwide protests, court documents said on Wednesday. George Floyd, 46, died after Derek Chauvin, a white policeman, knelt on his neck for nearly 9 minutes on May 25th, reigniting the explosive issue of police brutality against African Americans 5 months before a presidential election. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison is charging Chauvin, 44, with second-degree murder in addition to the third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter charges leveled against him last week, according to court documents. The new charge can carry a sentence up to 40 years, 15 years longer than the maximum sentence for third-degree murder. The other 3 former officers were involved in the incident. Thomas Lane, J. Alexander, Cohn, and Tow face charges of aiding and abetting murder, and arrest warrants have been issued by Ellison, according to the documents. Ellison, a black former U.S. congressman, has requested that bail be set at $1 million for each of the 4 former officers, the documents showed. Ellison was expected to hold a briefing later on Wednesday. When reached by Reuters over the phone, Earl Gray, the attorney for Lane, said he had not received any information on the charges yet. Attorneys for the other officers who are being charged did not immediately respond to requests for comment. This is a significant step forward on the road to justice, and we are gratified that this important action was brought before George Floyd's body was laid to rest, Benjamin Crump, attorney for the Floyd family, said in a statement. He later told CNN that Chauvin should be facing a first-degree murder charge, and that Ellison had informed Floyd's family that the investigation is ongoing and other charges could be filed. Protesters who have vented their anger over Floyd's death in sometimes violent demonstration in major U.S. cities over the past week had demanded the case be widened to include all the officers who were present during the incident. This is another important step for justice, said U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, who is from Minnesota and a potential running mate for presumed Democratic nominee Joe Biden in the November 3rd election. Tens of thousands of people defied curfews and took to the streets of cities coast to coast for an 8th night in protest over Floyd's death and brutality against other black Americans. Authorities took the unusual step of ordering the curfews and ban of police in riot gear and other heavily armed officers patrol, ringing landmarks and shouting at protesters while helicopters roared overhead. While most protesters have been peaceful, there was less looting and vandalism overnight, and clashes between police and protesters were made sporadic.